listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Thanks for being with us. Great to be with you this morning. It is Monday, January the 16th. It's middle of January already. Where does the time go? It's incredible how fast time goes and how fast this show actually goes as well. And we got a lot to get to, a lot to talk about, and I'm glad to have with me this morning my co-host for the day, Nick Gervais. How's it going?
Hello.
Nick?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. See how I made that rhyme?
I like it.
Yeah, cool. Anyways, I'm working on it, you know. There's lots to do today, lots to talk about. Should we just dive right in and then get to all of the conversations after?
Let's just dive right in. There's so much to talk about. I'm currently at my friend's house. She has this beautiful house. I'm looking out on Nipissing Lake and I'm seeing the sunrise. She's in the middle of construction, so that's why my background, there's going to be a nice kitchen here eventually, but I didn't want to miss the show.
You know what? It looks fine behind. If you wouldn't have said that it's under construction, I would have just thought it's just any old room, you know. It looks like a wall. The camera is very good. Whatever you're on, it's got a really nice camera. So
I'm on my laptop with my ring light. But I literally broke my ring light right before the show. So it's hanging on by a thread.
No.
And it's funny how humans do that, right? We have to point out things where you would have never even noticed. It's kind of like when I have a big zit, I have to notice there's a zit. People are like, oh, I didn't even know you had a zit, Nick. Like now I'm staring at your zit. So thanks for letting me know. I'm like, darn.
It's interesting you say that because as a musician, a lot of times you'll make a mistake here and there while you're live on stage. And you can't let the audience know. Like it's before when you're a young band and someone in the band made a mistake, everyone would turn and give them the evil look, you know. And you just learn that if you don't say anything, people won't even notice, right? So
exactly.
Unless it's you say something unfactual or something, and you realize it, and you say, "Wait a minute, I think I need to correct what I just said." Sometimes you got to do that, but yeah, I know what you mean. You don't always have to point out our mistakes. And for some reason, our Facebook feed is just freezing when I'm trying to get it up on the big screen. And I'll just hope that it'll come in at some point. So, okay, thanks for being with us, everyone. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow. Also, comment, because today the comments are working again, which is great. We haven't seemed to have any issues, touch wood. And thankfully, you can comment and you are part of the show. This is your show on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio and CKLU streaming, cklu.ca. You can download the Radio Player Canada app from there too. Take us anywhere. Listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. Also, Facebook streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News. YouTube streaming live at youtube.com/Sudbury News. You can comment on both of those platforms. I'll be able to see it a little bit easier on the Facebook one because I have it on the monitor in front of me. On our switcher, it's a little smaller to read, and that's where the YouTube comments come in. But anyways, that's just a little background on that. Thanks to our Facebook and YouTube monitors. We really appreciate all that you do. And thanks for allowing people to like and follow. Especially lately, we've noticed the follows have gone up extremely a lot. As we've noticed, they stopped for a while. Not sure why, and I'm just glad that the door's open again. So I've noticed, I'm going to share a little bit later, that a lot of our diehard listeners and viewers, it still shows that they're just invited, that they haven't actually liked or followed the page. I'll show that later if I'm able to. And I'll invite you to go back and see if you're liking the page or following it, because you may have liked it or followed it when we were quote unquote what's called shadow banned, I guess. Not sure, but go back and make sure that you've liked or followed it. I know Miles Shields, even, who's on the show every day, it still shows that he's been invited. Even my wife still shows that, she's invited, and I even go on there manually and try and like it. So I hope that that's now working, because we're right on the cusp of 5,000 followers on Facebook, and we want to get to that. That's a bit of a milestone and a goal for us. So without further ado, let's just get into it today. Weather, sports, and headlines, and a lot of convo with all y'all. And I'd like to give a shout out to David. Good morning. I hope you're having a great day. We'll be back with weather right after this. Your local weather, sponsored by sudburyweather.ca. And as usual, so the weather is getting milder. It was very, very cold for a couple days. It's currently -8, and it feels like -15. Humidity's kind of low, which I thought was interesting. But today we can expect sunny and wind of 15 kilometers or so. -4 is the high today. The wind chill will feel like -13 this morning, but then -6 this afternoon. So a little bit milder today. Tonight, clearing, increased cloudiness. Oh, sorry, clear, but with increasing cloudiness after midnight, then periods of snow or ice pellets. And then a risk of freezing rain overnight, which is always beautiful. The temperature steady near -4, wind chill near -8. And then Tuesday, periods of snow or ice pellets again with a risk of freezing rain. Local snow and ice pellet amount 2 centimeters. That is for tomorrow. The temperature will stay steady near -2, but then wind chill near -7. So a little milder. So you got a little bit more of the mixed bag of precipitation, freezing rain, ice pellets, that type of thing. So again, periods of snow mixed with ice pellets tomorrow, high of -2. Wednesday, chance of flurries, -4, 40% chance of flurries. Thursday, 60% chance of snow, a -7. Friday, 30% chance of snow, high of -7. Chance of snow also on Saturday and Sunday. Probability of precipitation for both of those days, 30 to 40%, and a high of -4 and -3. So you have anywhere between -3 and -7. Sorry, -2 and -7 for the next, 5 or 6 days. Very moderate temperatures for this time of year, and it's been a very mild beginning to winter this year. There you have it. There's your satellite view over Northern Ontario. Just a bunch of clouds and a little bit of clearing, mostly cloudy. So there you have it. That's your weather, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. It lands on our sudbury.news Facebook page, which is always a work in progress. Check it out at sudbury.news, and you can just click on the weather there. It lands, or go to sudburyweather.ca. It goes to the same place. We'll be back with a little bit of sports right after this. The Sudbury Wolves were in action Wednesday night, Friday night, and Sunday night. They lost a heartbreaker in a shootout on Wednesday night against the North Bay Battalion. They beat the Flint Firebirds on Friday night, and then another heartbreaker yesterday against the Sioux Greyhounds. Let's just check in a little bit on the third period here. What happened? The Wolves are up 2-1 going into the third period. And this is what happened.
Goes back in. Anania will cut to the front of the net and give way. And the Sioux Greyhounds have just tied the game with 10 minutes and 59 seconds left. Broussard coming well out. And McConnell Barker hits the back of the net. Here comes Ferrand. He's going the opposite way of Goyette. And a beauty. Watson. Possible game-winning goal here in the shootout. And that's it.
So unfortunately, the Sioux Greyhounds, they defeated the Sudbury Wolves 3-2 in a shootout. So the Wolves not able to get the W yesterday against the Sioux Greyhounds. They lost in the shootout on Wednesday, lost in the shootout yesterday as well, but then they beat the Flint Firebirds on Friday night. The Sudbury Five are also in action. That was on Saturday night, and now they are starting the season 3-0. They beat the Windsor Express. So I know, Nick, you had a chance to go to that game, correct? And how was the game? Was there anything that you found in there that you liked?
I loved it. Am I muted? Can
You
hear
were,
me?
but now you're not. Yeah.
Okay. No, it was awesome. I love basketball. I was a basketball player, and this was the first experience of going to see Sudbury Five. And it's a show. It's entertaining. It was pretty packed. I was really impressed with the game, the entertainment. I really enjoyed it. We have some really good players. I was really impressed with like Jalen. I think he's number 1. And Jeremy, I think he's number 5. I'm not really sure, but Braylon, these guys are really good. And it was just awesome. Like, we weren't winning the whole game, and then they came back, and then we started winning. And then they, at the end, I think we won by 10 or 12 points or something like that. But it was what a cool experience. And I saw online on the website that you can get tickets on the floor. They're not really expensive tickets. So if you're looking for something fun to do with your family, go check out a basketball. Because I brought some friends, because I got some tickets, and I brought some friends, and they've never watched it either. And they're like, I don't really like basketball, but this was so much fun. I was really impressed.
Yep. That's what happens. And we can't encourage people enough to get out there. And, it's just the atmosphere. You don't have to be a fan of the sport. You're there. It's just especially for kids too. I brought Abby to a Wolves game one time, and it just happened to be, there was a huge check right in front of us, and the doors ended up smashing open right in front of us, and they came right down, and it was kind of exciting for Abby. And then the mascot came over and gave Abby a puck. And
cool.
But I let her know this doesn't happen every game, Abby. This isn't, you don't get, a free puck every game or whatever. But again, she could care less about watching hockey, but loved the popcorn, loved the atmosphere, the between, they do things in between, like either the periods in hockey or the quarters in basketball, right? So there's a lot of action going on. It's entertaining.
So much action.
It is.
They did
really
so
cool.
good. I also realized it's a cashless arena.
Oh.
So me and my friend brought cash because he wanted to get some drinks, and he did on purpose to bring cash and didn't bring his wallet. So that was kind of something I feel like they should advertise, that it's a cashless arena. So you go with your credit card or your debit card. Everything is on the card.
Something I wasn't even aware of, Nick. So I think a lot of the people listening or watching today possibly weren't aware of it as well. So no, it should be, I guess, told to more people, marketed, I guess you can say, just so people are aware when they go. Also really cool news, the Sudbury Cubs, which are the NOJHL, whatever, NOAJ, whatever. They are the tier below the Sudbury Wolves. And they're ranked 7th in the country in their, in their division kind of thing, in their class. And they just beat the Red Wings in Elliott Lake 4-2 on Friday. And they're just a really great, solid winning team, the Sudbury Cubs. So they also, I think they play at the Countryside Arena, is their home arena. So even going out to see the Sudbury Cubs as well, and supporting local. And speaking of sporting local, the action from the annual Police Cup Playground Hockey Tourney. So this is interesting. They have a playground hockey tournament that raises money for charity. So Greater Sudbury Police Chief Paul Pedersen drops the puck to open the event for the 5 Division 23 team tourney that also raises funds for the Sudbury Food Bank. For the first time since 2020, the annual Sudbury Playground Hockey League Police Cup tournament took over the Jerry McCory Countryside Sports Complex this weekend. And our police chief dropped the puck, as mentioned. And it marks the 70th anniversary of the Sudbury Playground Hockey League in our community. It's interesting that it was an indoor game. I guess we can't really play hockey outside right now, right? Because of the temperatures.
Yeah.
It's probably
It's
inside
true.
anyways, I would think. It's a little
I'm
bit
just
easier.
going through the news on the feed of
Yep.
the Facebook, and I'm
Yep.
realizing that Sudbury 5 is unbeaten to start the season. They haven't
Three-
lost a game.
They're 3-0. Yeah, that's what I mentioned.
That's
At the
awesome.
beginning, yeah, they're unbeaten. Pretty great, eh?
That is cool.
Yeah, unbeaten.
They're also
beginning to the season.
giants.
They're very big.
Yeah.
Basketball
This one
players
guy I thought
are
was
big.
really good. I thought he was short, and I just checked. He's 6'7". I was like, whoa.
You thought he
Alright.
was short.
Yeah, compared to the other guys, you know?
Yeah. That's
But no,
like
he's tall.
Steve Nash was that way. Like I went to see a Raptors versus Suns game in Toronto, and I was like, "Where's Steve Nash? Where's Steve Nash?" I was looking for him, and the whole time I thought he was the ball boy because he was so short compared to all the other players, and he's 6 foot something, but he just looked
Wow.
like a little kid out there compared to these guys. And I remember also when I was in Salt Lake City in there was 2 years in a row where the Jazz and the Bulls, when Michael Jordan was playing, they went to the finals. Both years I was there, actually, the 2 years I was living there. And I was in a restaurant, and I look over and I see these incredibly huge feet with these bright red sneakers. I was like, who has feet that big? Anyways, there was like 4 times as big as you would think the biggest shoe you could ever imagine in your mind was. Like it was like a giant foot. Anyways, it was right beside me, but it was one of the players of the Chicago Bulls out for dinner with his agent, basically. And wow. And they're bigger even than our basketball players here.
Yeah.
Average sizes, right? So it's incredible. All right, so we'll be back with headlines as you're going through the news. Anyways, might as well get to some of these headlines, and we'll be back with that right after this. And to Nick. Yeah, so much to talk about. Beginning with the top, there was an incident that closed the Sudbury area Life Labs, and Nickel Belt MPP Florence Jelena announced Tuesday a collision will close the Life Labs Zilda location for about 30 days. A collision. Let's just check in with this. Yeah, so I just want to see. I know CTV did a little blurb on it, so let's just see what happened here. And I got to share the screen. So on your mark, get set, share.
We begin in Azilda, where a vehicle collision has forced the local Life Labs to close. Nickel Belt MPP and health critic Frost Jelena posted on Facebook that the Life Labs location in the greater Sudbury community will be closed for around 30 days. This was the scene Sunday morning outside, where damage was clearly boarded up. A sign posted on the door saying they would be closed until further notice, and provides a list of other local branches. This comes as there has been a backlog in testing and results in the province. CTV reached out to both Life Labs and local police for more information on the collision and how the closure may impact the community, but no one was available for comment.
Yeah, that's beginning to be more of a trend now that nobody's available for comment, but not sure why. But it was a Sunday, right? So probably short-staffed and whatever. So a car smashed into the Life Labs. I want to know more about that, you know?
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
Was someone really angry about the results?
Yeah, something, something, right? So here we're gonna just talk. I know Miles chimed in about gas prices, so hang on one second. So gas prices, he says, are remarkably more expensive in other areas in Northern Ontario, and Sudbury is the low gas spot now.
I feel like
Thanks.
that's hasn't happened in a long time. Thank you, Costco. Thank
Exactly.
you,
Thanks
Costco.
to Costco, which currently sits at 135.9, which is 1 cent cheaper than it was on Friday. So still going down. And now you have only a 2 cent difference from the following gas stations. Mr. Gas on Bancroft is 137.5. Mobile is 137.5. That's the independent grocer. Oh, no, sorry. That's on LaSalle as well. 137.5. And Pioneer 137.6, 137.6. Shell 137.9. So you're looking at 2 cents difference with the other gas stations. So it's hopefully keeping our gas prices low,
Yep.
Costco, and will continue to do that. So yeah, so he says it's a lot more expensive in the Sioux. When he was there yesterday, noticed they're significantly higher than Sudbury.
We have some really good prices in Sudbury because I filled up in Jocko Point yesterday on the reserve and I paid $133.
Oh, yeah, and that's supposed to be a lot cheaper, but Costco's only
Yeah.
2 cents more than that. So
Wow.
there you go. Good morning, Jerome. Hope you're having a good morning. Thanks for being with us. Keep the comments coming as we get into our stories today. That was gas prices.
Did you see there was a pedestrian that was killed after they were struck by a motor vehicle on Sunday evening?
Yeah, that was very, very, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
I
And it
thought,
looks like it's in the area where there's actual walkways. So it's
yeah,
interesting to know there's an investigation happening. The vehicle stuck around
yeah,
after they hit the pedestrian, and they're saying if you were aware or know anything to give them a call, and you can check the article on the
yeah,
page.
yeah. That happened at just before 6 o'clock yesterday. That's right on Brady at the walkway, right at the city hall there that goes across
Yeah.
where Golden Grain Bakery is, Shaughnessy Street. So, wow, rather unfortunate. There was probably a pedestrian going across, and where they're supposed to be. Well, we don't know the details, so hard
It's
to
also
say.
dark at night, like at 6, it's dark. So if you're not wearing bright colors, it's really easy to not see pedestrians when you're
Yeah,
driving.
for sure.
And if you're on your phone, or you're not paying attention, then
Yeah.
yeah, that can cause some issues.
And if you've been downtown recently, you do know that there's a lot more foot traffic with people walking around, and not always being aware of the road and cars. Back in the day, you knew a pedestrian was going to be a little bit more on the watch for traffic. These days, somebody could be totally just unaware that there's even cars where they are, right? So
Yeah.
we have to be very cautious, especially driving downtown. The opioid crisis, homelessness, people experiencing
Exactly.
homelessness, I should say, is very prevalent downtown, and so we need to be extra cautious because of even the conditions due to being a lot darker in the winter, and some of the weather
A lot of
conditions.
people, yeah, they're not paying attention. So we have
No,
to pay attention. You're in a
we
motorized vehicle, so you
yeah
need to pay attention. If you're driving, pay
yeah
attention.
have take extra precautions as you're driving through downtown. So yeah, we covered that. Lots of sports today. It says growing Sudbury's population possible, but it will be a challenge, experts say. So that's Paul Lefebvre, our new mayor, has an expectation to grow the city by 30,000 people over the next 20 years. So he wants to be over 200,000 people. It was a promise voters heard time and time again in the municipal election. Mayor Lefebvre had a plan to grow the community's population to 200,000 over the next 20 years. He's not saying much these days, according to a Sudbury Star article, but he told the Star he will announce his plan for the coming months, or in the coming months. There are implications and strategies to consider. The big question, of course, how does this kind of growth happen? So what do you think, Nick? How will this kind of growth happen?
Well, as soon as I heard this, I thought maybe they're going to be introducing big companies or corporations, because I heard there will be a acid mining that just got approved in the valley, so to create batteries for like Tesla and things like that. So that's going to bring in a lot of people to our city. And I don't know if I'm pro for a mining company in my backyard that's going to be creating, acid for batteries. But I'm just seeing a quote here. It says, we need to go over and above and get an additional 800 per year. Mercedes LaBelle, a senior policy and analyst with the Northern Policy Institute. It's really important that we make full use of the rural and northern immigration pilot program.
And that's where I was going right away. I thought that was the low-hanging fruit I was kind of looking for, because they're asking the question, where do you think all these people are going to come from? And so immigration was the first thing that came to mind, which I know a lot of people, they believe that's the only way. But I like what you said. If you create industry, that will bring in professionals from around North America even, right? So if there's industry happening in Sudbury, a lot of people are willing to relocate for their careers. They'll easily be on these job search places and see, wow, there's new plants being built in Sudbury. I'm willing to relocate there. I don't think it all needs to be just immigration,
Well, no, because these people need jobs. So where are they going to work? And we don't want to attract people and they don't work, because then that's another issue on it. I'm not saying that that's what immigrants do. They don't work. Actually,
well, if you are going to be attracting them, there should be jobs here for them, is what you're saying.
For them.
Yeah.
So that's what they're saying, that
exactly.
The program enables residents and business to sponsor 200 skilled workers plus spouses and children per year. So when you're being a sponsor, they must have a job to come to the city.
Yeah. Now also, so this is the thing, right? How many of these people would have normally come here without sponsorship and without incentives to these companies would have come here anyways? Is it the only way that we can grow the population of the city? And should we really watch how we do that? Because that could create a lot of animosity between even people in Sudbury. Let's say I apply to one of these new plants or whatever, and then I don't get a job, but somebody who's come from another country, they have incentives. The employer gets incentives and things like a lot of the wages are paid for a period of time.
That's what we hear a lot. And I don't know how much of it is, factual, but you hear that people from other countries come here and they get these massive bursaries and they get lots of money. And people are like, there's people in your backyard that is suffering and would love to have like a business loan to start off their business. So that can create a lot of division. And if you create more jobs here and support the people that you have here, then they will stick around, because that's a lot of the problems, is that people are leaving Sudbury and not coming back.
Yeah, exactly. Just wanted to say, Jerome is saying that Costco gas says that it's actually way better formulation than other gas from their competitors as well. So it's a better gas on top of being cheaper. So I just wanted to get that comment in there. I know it's our last story we were talking about. And Sarah, good morning. Thanks for being with us this morning. And Jerome says,
Hi, Sarah.
more Trudeau voters on the way. We're talking about immigration, right? So, and it could be a political thing, which does a lot of people that are coming in that will thank the current government for allowing them to come in, then will be loyal to them in the future, right? To continue to vote for them.
Exactly. And the article also says, LaBelle says, housing remain primary challenge for newcomers. So again, a lot of these immigrants get free housing. But our own people don't sometimes get free housing. So it could become an issue.
Yeah, and if there's not enough housing, and then the rents go up because it's supply and demand, right? So
Yep.
everyone's rent goes up, and then there's still not enough housing, then there's problems. So this has to be done correctly. No matter what.
Why do we need more population here?
That's a good question. Yeah,
Why do we need more population? Why can't we just stay a small town?
that's a fair question. There's some things come to my mind, and that is we do have resources here, and we have the ability to grow for what we have, and maybe the demand of the world with all this new electric everything. We're going to have to get this stuff out of the ground and processed quicker and more of it.
It says Ontario healthcare system has been tearing at the seams for several years. So let's bring in more people. That sounds counterintuitive.
So you need more infrastructure. Exactly. You need a bigger hospital or another hospital too, if you're going to have an
or
increased population.
attract nurses, attract people with already trades.
Yeah.
Have a type of signing bonus for nurses that are coming from maybe Toronto to come to a smaller town, like sell your house. That's a 1-bedroom condo for $1 million and come to Sudbury. You're going to be pretty set for a while.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think this plan needs to be a little bit more robust than just looking at immigration as the reason or the way. I think you could just go down to Toronto and put an advertisement out that Sudbury's way of lifestyle. You know, you don't have to be in a traffic jam for 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
You can just 15-minute drive anywhere, and then your lakes, outdoor things. Don't mention mosquitoes, whatever you do. But anyways, leave that out. But then
or the air that, exactly. No, that he keeps on going that's actually one of their goal is to attract skilled immigrants like doctors and nurses from other countries.
Yeah.
So just don't mention that the air can also hurt your face.
But why just attract skilled workers from other countries?
Yeah.
Like why can't you attract skilled workers from this country too? Like why can't you? That's what I mean. Like a lot of people, if you're living in Toronto, you're a Canadian citizen. You could have even been a recent immigrant.
And your training is the training from Canada, because I know when you're in India or other countries, you have to do other type of training once you get here, or you do it in India to be the same type of education here.
Yeah.
So exactly, like, could a Canadian citizen from Toronto get free housing?
No.
If they came to Sudbury?
No.
Why? That's not fair.
No, it's not. Right. But we need to hear the argument about that. Like maybe we're just misinformed or we're not aware, but why couldn't, it just be open up? And why do we need incentives to employers as well? You don't need incentives to employers if they can just hire whoever they want. And if someone from Alberta wants to now come here and work in one of our new plants or one of our new industries that we have, why would we say, no, we're going to get someone from out of the country, right?
Yeah.
Does that make any sense whatsoever? It's still a person living here. Why does it just have to be immigration? And I'm not against immigration. Actually, I'm pro-immigration, but done in the right way.
Yes.
We're all immigrants here, other than the indigenous people. But I would even claim that they're immigrants here at some point in time, just way before us. So I would just put that out there. So this land has been reserved, for, it doesn't go way, way, way back like, some of the other countries in the world the same way. It hasn't been developed in the same way historically like that. It's a recent development. So yeah, a lot of us are immigrants here in our first, second, third generation, whatever, of being here. So I'm not against it. However, I am against the very large incentives, and it's the only way to go to grow. It just doesn't make any sense. So
it pushes away our own people too. If they can't get a job here, if everyone else is getting a job, then local Sudburyans are going to leave.
Yeah,
they're like,
we have hard-working people that are contributing, that have skills and that have talents, and they're willing to go, and they're the majority. So we have the majority of people that way that are given an unfair playing field to be on at the expense of the minority that are given the majority of incentives, and the playing field is in their. So we're always bowing to the minorities all the time. And I'm not against, when I say minorities, it's the amount of people. It's not a racist statement of minority. I'm not against minority. It's just there's less. There's less. So we're always catering to the less amount of people that are in these categories. And it's like if you're in the third period of a game and the game's on the line and you're going to put put the least amount of played people in the time when it's really crucial. It doesn't make sense if that's what your goals are, is to win the game. It's to have the best thing you can do. So obviously there's something else going on other than wanting the best situation, the best company, the best economy, the best robust whatever. There's something else going on here. And we need to look into that and see what's political and what's,
Wow, it's all political. Again, let's not look at our infrastructure, our roads, and our current problem of housing. This is one of the first articles I'm seeing of our new mayor. Oh, we need to increase our population. Well, okay, whoa, hold off. Like, let's fix our city. There's a bunch of people sleeping outside in Tent City, and they shouldn't be outside. We have a massive, housing crisis. So maybe let's fix the infrastructure, and then let's look at population down the road.
Yep. I guess there's some goals that were put into place before. It says the Ministry of Finance projects Greater Sudbury will have a population of almost 184,000 people by 2042, and that's accounting for births, deaths, and migration. Sorry, about 16,000 people less than the target of 200,000 to achieve this goal. Greater Sudbury will need to attract an additional 800 residents, as you said, with various immigration strategies. That's what I mean, right? There's just not a full-blown plan to bring people here. That's not the only way. Exactly. That's not the only way. Yep.
No. And what is the benefit of growing our population? What is the benefit of that? And I'm sure there are benefits, but again, I think we need to look at our current city and fix these problems before we even think about these other goals that we have for our city. All right.
Yep. Got that. Sudbury man says to a pharmacy, I have a bomb in the truck and I'm here to rob you.
Oh, it's not funny, but it's.
He then led police on a wild and dangerous ride through the city. A Sudbury man who said he had a bomb while demanding a pharmacy give him drugs, and who then led police on a wild chase through the city, causing more than a dozen collisions, is facing long jail time.
Okay. It says Michael made the comments after Etienne pleaded guilty to 17 of the 42 charges he was facing. Why isn't this human being in jail?
Yeah. Well, whenever someone gets charged with something, they usually lay on that many charges. For some strange reason, I made this comment on one of the shows previous. We arrest someone, you're charged with 100 different things, and then you end up whittling it down. It must be just something in our legal system that makes it like that. But that's incredible. He said,
pre-sentence. It usually takes 6 to 8 weeks to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, maybe we need to fix that system. Like, if you're charged.
Yeah. The court.
He was also under drug-induced psychosis at the time. No doubt.
That would explain, why you're demanding drugs from a pharmacy.
Yeah.
Probably the fact that you really need them because you're on them already, right? So it'd probably be a good defense.
He stole his dad's Jeep. That's what happened. He stole his dad's Jeep. Then his dad called the police saying he was missing.
Said he was in Blind River. He'd be sleeping over. Oh my. We're laughing at this, but the poor pharmacist or whatever getting the call that there's someone with a bomb that's going to be coming in. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah, I guess that's all the time we're going to give that one. Just
Yeah, moving on.
don't go to the pharmacy and say you have a bomb to get drugs.
Yeah. And hey, don't do drugs, guys. This is what
Yeah.
happens. You'll end up having these
Yeah.
psychosis and you're going to make really bad decisions in your life.
Yep, exactly. Now, this is interesting. This is more on a national level, a national level. You know how there's they've been giving people lighter bail and stuff. They're not treating criminals the same way. They're they're very soft with them. They're letting them out quicker and things like that. And it's all according to a new philosophy from our government to be
Okay.
kinder to criminals. Well, the provincial
Right.
the premiers got together and all agreed, which is interesting, that we need to be tougher on criminals and that they don't want this type of ideology in our court systems.
So this article says, if you are charged with possession of a loaded handgun in crime, you shouldn't get bail, according to Canada's premier. Okay, can we talk about how ridiculous this sounds? Because Trudeau is banning a 22 gauge, which is is a rifle. You can kill a bird. You go hunting. It's a bird hunting gun.
Yeah.
So he wants to ban that rifle. But you know what? If you have a loaded handgun,
Yeah.
you shouldn't get,
Yeah.
that you can
Jail
get
time.
bail and just get
Yeah.
back onto the streets.
Yeah.
How does
If you-
that make any sense? It makes
Yeah.
zero sense.
Yeah. If you go out and use an illegally obtained firearm for a crime,
Okay.
you're going to be let off very easily. But
Yep.
if you're a legal gun owner, law-abiding citizen, your gun's going to be taken away from you.
Yeah.
Again, it just doesn't make any sense. But Miles says he doesn't think we understand how badly backlogged our courts are, and there's definitely some help needed. Yeah, and again, I think that's just if you look at how our courts are run and how long things take, there's other ways to do that than to just let criminals off. I think they could streamline the way they do
100%.
things. Everything takes long.
100%.
It's
Maybe hire more immigrants for that system.
yeah, for the
Hire more people. Do something. Obviously, your system is backlogged from this all data entry. There's so many problems. So look at the system and simplify things. But for me, I think it's on purpose. People take their. When you work for the city, we see city workers. There's 4 guys just standing around. They're not taking their job really seriously.
exactly.
So I don't know if that's happening in this type of system, but there shouldn't be a backlog. Or yes,
No.
of course, there's a backlog, but look at the system and fix it.
Okay, I got a video here. I'm just going to share it real quick. Just shed some light on it. We'll be right back.
How come it's so easy for accused criminals in Canada to get bail? How come it's so easy for them to get short sentences in jail if they get any sentences at all? How come it's so easy for them to get parole? It's because it's the law. And there's an increasing number of judicial rulings from the Supreme Court that back that up. It is now the belief in Canada, we've been angling this way since the 1970s, it's now the belief in the Canadian judicial system that no one should go to jail unless there are no other alternatives. There's nothing about punishment anymore. It's all about rehabilitation. And it comes mostly from a 1998 Supreme Court ruling called the Gladue ruling. A lot of people believe the Gladue ruling was solely about special treatment for Indigenous offenders who you could look back at their Indigenous heritage and say, well, they shouldn't be treated very harshly. They should be sent to healing circles. They should be sent to sweat lodges instead of going to jail because of the mistreatment over the history of Canada of Indigenous people. But it goes well beyond that. In the Gladue decision, the Supreme Court said it should no longer automatically be considered the paramount objective of the judicial system to protect the public. The number one objective of the judicial system should be to reintegrate the offender into society. And if that means no jail, if you can line up a bunch of experts and prison psychologists to say, oh no, this person would be much better off out in the public, then that's what the Supreme Court says judges must do. That's what wardens must do. That's what the police must do. It's now difficult to be arrested without bail in Canada. You hear about people who've spent a long time in jail, on bail, awaiting trial, but they are the rare exception. It's now very difficult to find anyone who has served their entire sentence. They might be sentenced to 5 years, but they have to be let out after a third of that, and certainly after 2/3 of that, unless they've shown some violent behavior in jail. These are coming out of legislation and Supreme Court rulings. This all being driven by the idea that offenders are not, and this is a pretty direct quote, offenders are not at odds with society. They are part of society, and our number one goal should be to reintegrate them into society. You remember Miles Sanderson, who was the man in Saskatchewan in the summer of 2022 who knifed 11 people to death, including his own brother. He was out on parole for a series of violent offenses. But the theory behind releasing him was, well, he'd be much better off in the community. He will reintegrate much faster into the community if he's in the community than if he's in jail. He was so violent he should never have been out of jail. But that's the kind of thinking that drives bail, sentencing, and parole in Canada. And it won't change until there's a significant change in legislation and the judiciary. For Post Media, I'm Lauren Gunter.
There you go. Lauren Gunter.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he gives a little of the background of why it is the way it is.
Yep. So now you're allowed bail. That's paperwork. So that's just all backlog. So now because you're allowed all these things, you can request all these things. So now that creates a lot of back end things. That is pretty pathetic. That's crazy that our government thinks that way, that, you know, it's better for them to be part of society. But I remember I was not allowed to be part of society because I didn't want to get, you know, an injection, but I was not allowed to be part of society. Yeah. That's horrible because it's my body, my choice. But someone who went and stabbed 11 people, it would be better if they were integrated in the society. This is how backwards our society has become.
Well, you also remember when they're releasing people from jail into society because
they didn't want them to get COVID.
It was dangerous for them because, they were confined with each other and they might get COVID. And then they were arresting people for not wearing masks and putting them in jail.
Right.
So it's just backwards. And speaking of backwards, I do have a video here of Stephanie Warner's sister's blindsided. The jury will never see this video footage after guards cleared of charges. So apparently there's a technicality of this lady who ended up dying. According to court documents, Rojas Silva was asking her to put her mask back on. This was one of the guards at a hospital that this lady was in, asking her to put a mask back on, which was off at the time. And that's when, according to the documents, Werner rose to her feet with her mask on and swatted her arm at Miss Rojas Silva with her right arm. And the security video shows the guards then pushing her against the wall. She ended up being deceased shortly after that. So, but for some technicality, some reason, this video will not be allowed to be shown to jurors of this case. But let's just check in on this CTV story about it. We'll be right back just to comment on it. I've got to get it on the screen here. Here we go.
A warning about this next story. It contains images some viewers may find disturbing.
A Richmond Hill woman says she feels blindsided that an upcoming criminal trial into her sister's death was thrown out and that a crucial video will never be seen by a jury. CTV's John Woodward explains.
This is video of the 3 minutes that cost Stephanie Warner her life, obtained by CTV News after a court application.
Doesn't matter how many times I see it, it's gut-wrenching.
Hard to watch for her older sister, Denise, but it was to be crucial evidence in the manslaughter and criminal negligence charges against 2 Toronto General Hospital security staff who confronted Warner on May 11th, 2020. Her sister says she had tested negative after having COVID-19, but was still suffering symptoms.
She went downstairs to the food court, and unfortunately on her way, where she was masked, she became without breath and sat down and was evidently really struggling. And so she then brought her mask down to her chin.
Her mask comes back up, and then the guards push her against the wall. The camera moves away, something the operator briefly lost his license for, and then Warner is limp as she is taken down the hall. She died 16 days later.
The Ontario Court of Justice had a preliminary hearing in the case last year, but lawyers for the accused Shane Hutley and Amanda Rojas Silva applied to Superior Court to throw out the decision to proceed, and they won.
Justice Dunphy wrote, while there was some evidence from which the Crown could seek findings that the accused unlawfully restrained the deceased and that certain of their actions in doing so were a substantial contributing cause of death, the actions undertaken to restrain the deceased for which there is any evidence were forceful but not violent and consistent with their training in restraining someone. An unusual step, says lawyer Ari Goldkind.
A judge took a look at what the other judge did in the court below and said, no, 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 no. There's essentially no evidence here that a jury properly instructed could convict on, so basically ended the case.
University Hospital Network didn't respond to our questions, but told Ontario's ombudsman they have added 12 hours to guard training, saying, we have dramatically enhanced our focus on de-escalation via training, policy, and our philosophy statement.
This is so painful, and then there's no ending. And I was prepared to accept any verdict that a jury would have presented.
A verdict that won't ever happen now as Warner mulls her next steps to ensure what happened to her sister never happens again. John Woodward, CTV News.
Yeah, very, very sad, right? So
Wow.
So the jury will never see that.
She didn't even look like she was near anybody. She was just like minding her own business, it looks like from the video.
She wasn't near anyone. She was just against the wall.
I know. So leave her
sat down.
alone.
Mask
can't
was
breathe.
Yeah, mask was below because she couldn't breathe, right? Like if you have respiratory, you're struggling and you need to breathe, she's out of breath, the mask is the last thing that you're going to have on your face. You're going to lower it to get some air, right? So the
fact that the camera guy actually moved, he knew something wrong was happening. They knew that they should not be doing what they're doing.
Yep. He moved
And this
the
is
camera.
what's the problem with these policies. It's creating division and it's making people go crazy.
Yep. So to me, that was, And then so it shows the levels here, right? So the camera person, so first of all, the people committing this, did they need to use that type of force just because someone wasn't putting the mask? Couldn't you just said, why is your mask down? Oh, I'm out of breath. Oh, okay. Then, well, as soon as you got some breath, just make sure you put your mask back on.
And science says, as long as you stay 6 feet away,
Yeah.
you're not really affecting anybody. So just stay there and breathe. So, because it's important to breathe.
Yeah. So these people then came into her space instead of staying 6 feet away, which you would think they would be very cautious of because of the deadly virus that they would be in a possibility to get if they were closer than 6 feet, right? So do you think they would be extremely afraid to get close? If her mask wasn't on, they put their own lives in jeopardy to grab her and forcefully smash her into the wall to tell her to put her mask back on to help people to be safe, which inevitably she died 16 days after that. Her body was limp, as you saw that. People on the radio weren't able to see it. But anyways, she was just sitting in a chair. Security told her to put her mask on. She was like, we don't know what was said. The two security, a man and a woman, went and grabbed her right out of the chair and slammed her up against the wall, at which time the camera was, somebody was controlling the camera and moved it right out of the way so no one would see what was happening. A later camera then showed her being carted off in a chair, but her body was limp and she was just laying in a chair. Almost looked like she was dead at that moment, but she was definitely passed out or something. So, does that make any sense?
She died days later?
She died 16 days after that, according to the report.
Nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
Today. That did not make any sense. No, we're in a hospital. We're supposed to care for people. We're not supposed to kill people.
Yeah. But that's what it brings out in people, though, and they don't even understand it. The psychological aspect of all this stuff that goes on. It goes back to the very base things of humankind. If I have authority and I tell you to listen to me and you don't listen to me, it brings out, and I have the authority to do whatever I want to do to you. That's
our struggle. We're just feeding into people's ego.
Yeah. And we saw that all through the last 3 years and stuff. we saw just that type of treatment with people
And
because you can't.
what was it for? What was it for, Aaron? Like the data's coming out. There's tons of data.
Mhm.
Even the CDC is now saying like we should hold off on things because it's causing myocarditis. It's causing all these things, all these sudden deaths. Like I'm seeing so many deaths on Facebook, just people just suddenly dying. 16-year-old kids dying of a heart attack. Lots of them. Football players, soccer players, the amount of soccer players that are just suddenly dying of a heart attack. Kids do not die of heart attacks, but now we're normalizing heart attacks. So it's just ridiculous.
Apparently there's an epidemic of rare heart conditions going around all of a sudden with very in shape people, like athletes. Very rare heart conditions are causing them. Oh, it is a coincidence.
It's all coincidence.
Yeah, for sure. There's just rare. It's like an epidemic of rare heart diseases all of a sudden. But that was one of the things that people warned of that could happen because of the steps that we took, the solution we had for the pandemic, right? So
sad.
So
it's very sad.
I know Jerome's been just commenting furiously here. More money for the corrupt judiciary, Nick. Look at the professional cowards committing murder under the guise of medical tyranny. Tell us how you really feel, Jerome. Don't hold back, okay?
Yeah.
Don't beat around the bush.
Claire says no one seems to notice there were no flu outbreak at time of this, and government were not asking people to get their last flu jabs, just the C jabs.
Yep.
So that's interesting too. We didn't even get a flu outbreak.
Yep.
And then nobody's really getting their flu shots.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of people that are skeptical now more than ever because, you know, when they first rolled everything out, they were told that it was the solution. You would never get what it was there for, which you would think if I'm getting some kind of...
Or maybe the flu shot is creating the flu outbreaks?
Well, that's, you know, I guess if you were a scientist, you would want to put that out there and you would question everything. That's what science is supposed to do. It's not supposed
Or not
to
allowed to question anything.
Yeah, science isn't supposed to tell you that there's only one thing. It's supposed to question everything and say, is this right? Can we know this for sure? But science now has changed. It doesn't mean what it used to mean. But that's the kind of world we do live in. Ask a pharmacist here in Sudbury if they noticed a drop in clients. Interesting. Okay, well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have. But thanks, everyone, for commenting today. We almost made it through all the stories, which is great. And thank you very much, Nick. Do you think you're able to come on tomorrow? It doesn't matter if
Yes,
you're not.
I can.
If you can, you can.
Yep.
Billy's on too, so it'll be the three of us tomorrow. So it'll be a really great show. So make sure to stay tuned tomorrow, same time, same place, Sudbury News Talk, right here on CKLU 96.7 FM. Thanks again,
Have a
Nick.
great day, everybody.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Bye. Have a great day.
Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM.